Again to Miami Community Health. This is Dr. Anthony Gonzalez, your host. Today we're doing our show virtually because I have a special guest that could not come to the studio, but I did not want to miss the opportunity in having her on our show because April is Autism Awareness Month, and autism very important to Dorcas and I and our family. And to give a little twist to autism and autism awareness, I wanted to talk about one special field in the treatment of these children and young adults with autism that help, and that is occupational therapists. It is also Occupational Therapy Awareness Month. So April is Autism Awareness Month as well as Occupational Therapy Awareness Month. So I brought an excellent, what my wife says is the best occupational therapist, Fabi Martin. Welcome, Fabi.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Thank you for having me here. Such an honor for me.
No, please, thank you for joining us. So first, why don't we just tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Yes. Well, as you mentioned, I am an occupational therapist. I work with children. Usually, my most caseload is kids with autism, sensory processing disorder, and ADHD. And I'm certified in sensory processing by the STAR Institute in Colorado. And that's one of my passions as well, because most of the kids with autism have sensory processing disorder as well. So I love treating, both diagnoses, and it's amazing the improvements that we see.
And so, what inspired you to get into this field? And the occupational therapy is a big field because you can work an occupational therapist in helping adults with injuries, right? As well, because the occupational therapy field is more than just helping kids with autism, right?
Yes. Well, I'm gonna give you my background. I wanted to be an oncologist, a pediatric oncologist. I volunteered at Miami Children's Hospital for 5 years in the oncology unit. And then I started seeing occupational therapists working with the kids that I was seeing there as a volunteer. And I was intrigued about what was occupational therapy, because in Venezuela, where I'm from, you don't know much about occupational therapy. So I started doing research about it, and I'm like, okay, med school is a little bit long for me. So I decided to go to occupational therapy because also I got a lot of time to spend with the patient, with the family. I like to talk a lot. I love to educate. So I'm like, well, let's just give it a try. And I went to FIU and I finished my master's, and here I am, 12 years after.
And why the kids and why the special needs kids? Because you could have gone into treating kids with cancer, or you could have gone into occupational therapy and treating adults.
I did my field work in everything, in geriatrics, in pediatrics, and adults. And I mean, as an occupational therapist, it's okay. I can treat any population, but I've always have my heart. I think I have a mission. God sent me here a gift to work with kids, because I feel that also working with kids, you work with the adults. And
Mhm.
I have this thing that I this little grain of sand that I want to put and change the adult's mind to help the kids, because the kids are going to be kids, but they need the help from us, the adults. So I'm like, if I work with kids, I can also work with the adults. So you have both opportunities to work
Wow.
with both populations, but the kids is what I love the most, because I love to be a clown. I'm very hyper. So for me to work with adults is a little bit boring.
Especially geriatric adults, right?
Yes.
All right. So, in regard to as a professional that you are, and a healthcare provider, healthcare professional, you have to collaborate with a lot of other people, not only the parents, the teachers, the doctors. Talk about how that collaboration goes into you caring and really helping these children.
Well, that is the most important piece in our treatment. If we don't have the opportunity to meet with the other professionals, the improvements of the kids, sometimes you don't see much. I love to have everyone on board because I don't know much about speech therapy, but when I talk to the speech therapist and I ask her, okay, how can I incorporate as well and help you with the child on your goals? Let's say with the behavioral therapist, how can I help you? Because I don't know about behavioral therapy. So give me some tips. How can I help you? How can you help me? And the doctors as well. In terms of if a child has a medication, can I know the side effects, or if a child has had a surgery, because I have kids that have fractures. Okay, what can I do as an OT? What can I not do during treatment? Because I move them a lot. I do a lot of jumping, and I'm very active. So I I need everyone on board.
Yeah.
So
Well,
in
that's
regards
great. You know, one of the things I hear is communication, and that's one in my field of medicine. Communication is so important for the patient to get a complete care, and so you're doing that as well, and that's
to,
where the kid will benefit, the child will benefit, and the family will benefit. Now, you
yeah.
mentioned jumping around, and I know there's a lot of playing and play-based therapy. Talk to us about that. How is the treatment of these? Are there different types of treatment for these children, and what are they?
In occupational therapy, yes. In my therapy, I I'm gonna be honest. I'm very the type of person that I work with kids doing the floor time approach, which is following the child's lead, and based on that, that's how I do my objectives. What does that mean? Their occupation, kids' occupation is play. And unfortunately, nowadays, the play you see less play in the families, because families are very busy, and families most of the time focus on the cognitive skills, and they want their kids to read and to write and to do all these amazing things and know so much. But what about the fun part? What about the play? Because play is the kid's occupation, and sometimes we forget that. And as an adult as well, we forget to play. We forget to have that inner child
Uh,
in our daily life. So, my session, I tell parents, and I'm raw honest, I'm not a therapist that is going to do handwriting, because handwriting, even though occupational therapists do that, handwriting is like the top of the building. It's like the last roof, like the roof of the building. Because in order for us to get there, we have to meet so many different steps. And in order for a child to have beautiful handwriting and do amazing stuff, fine motor wise, you have to work on other things. And how do you do that? How do you get there? Through play. I've seen so many kids with autism connect, make eye contact, do handwriting, do all this gross motor stuff through play. That we
uh,
don't see our professions, like people don't see our professions so much as a formal profession. Like some people usually like take more into consideration speech therapy
yeah.
or behavioral therapy, but occupational therapy is like, why are they blowing bubbles and why are they playing with Play-Doh and going on a swing? So they don't see as much as a profession that, what are they
Well,
doing?
let me tell you, I'm gonna confess. When my wife used to take our children to the occupational therapist, and I would see the swings or have them, I would see them. I'm sorry, I don't know why I lost you. Can you still see me there?
Yes.
Okay. I used to see them swing around and everything else, and I would say, "What is that? What are they doing? Why are they swinging? Why are they wearing jackets or weighted jackets, or why are they?"
We lost him.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
And I, yeah, there. I'm sorry. And I was not a believer. And my wife says that is part of it. There is so much more that goes into occupational therapy. And I think it leads to our next question about sensory, because a lot of it is the sensory component. I remember one of our kids had problems with his mouth, and we had to use to brush his mouth and so forth. So talk to us about the sensory integration as well. That's important in occupational therapy and treating these kids.
Yes, for so many people that don't know about the term, is how we process the information from our senses throughout the world. Either outside, let's say how I see things, how I listen to things, how I smell to things, and also our internal um, feelings. For example, the pressure. Right now, I'm sitting on a chair, how much pressure my body is executing on the chair. When kids write with the pencil, how much pressure they put on the pencil or on the paper. Some kids, when they erase, they put too much pressure and then they break the paper. So we have pressure, we have temperature, and then we have pain. So all these sensations that we have in our body, either through our external world or our internal world, some kids, they don't have it balanced, let's put it that way. And what happens is that they try to seek these sensations outside. I have a lot of kids that, okay, moms, usually like the characteristics are, they cannot sit, they are jumping, they're very rough when they play, they bite, they push, they hit each other. Or you have the opposite, which is also a characteristic that some people don't take too much into considerations. The ones that are very like shy, that they don't want to move, which also you need to work with them. Usually, like the ones that are more active, those are the ones that you like take more into therapy. But the ones that are like, I call them like with low gas, those also need work, and that's sensory. And sensory integration works under three different like areas. Believe it or not, I tell parents motoric, because usually kids with autism, like the motor, gross motor, the coordination, the balance, executing, like let's say, okay, we're going to play soccer, how are we going to connect all these systems together in order for me to kick the ball, in order for me to also get the social component of the nonverbal language, who do I have to throw the ball to. So sensory is so much, so
Wow.
much. And the kids with autism, I feel that the sensory component is on the way sometimes of acquiring the skill that they need, let's say, to play soccer. Let's put an example. Some kids have auditory sensibility, hypersensitivity, and they cannot tolerate kids screaming or the whistle of the coach. So yes, maybe they want to play soccer, but they cannot tolerate that. So how can we work in desensitizing that system so they can be able to participate in soccer, because that's something that they love. So that's what I do in order for the individual to have that skill and whatever they want to do. I'm like, okay, let's work on that. It's not based so much into like, yes, I put into consideration what the parent wants as an objective, but I also see the child and I kind of like put myself into his or her level. And then I'm like, okay, I see what you want. That's why like I feel I like this so much, because I can read them. Even though if I have kids that are nonverbal, and even though they cannot speak language wise, I can read them. Like I can read their bodies, and I can read like what they want and what they need. And I'm like, okay, maybe your mom wants this, but I'm not gonna listen to her. We're going to do something different, because I hear you, I feel you, I see what
Wow, that's
you want.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
What are the age ranges of the kids that you work with, Fabi?
Right now I have from 15 months. I had until 21, but right now my caseload, the biggest child I have is 8.
Okay, but you will
Yeah.
take but you can treat kids that are 15 or 18 years old as well, I would imagine, right?
Yes, no, and I love
Okay.
working with them, like the social skills. We used to have in the clinic that I used to work, we had social skills group with
Yeah.
adolescents, and it was So much fun.
Yeah, I remember one or two of my kids were involved in those social groups. So talk to us about, so I was going to ask you about that because socialization is one of the biggest things with autism. So talk to us about some of the interventions for the social skills that are needed for these children. And these kids become social when they start kindergarten basically, or in the playground or in the classroom. So how do you help them with that?
I feel that the most important aspect is to train the parents. And we have to train the parents in how to play with their kids, because the social skills are not going to come, because that's part of the autism. They're not going to come naturally. So we have to, through play, model. So for me, it's very important for parents to role model what we want on the child through play. So let's say an example: we are playing with cars, okay? And I, on purpose, throw the car. Oh no! And I have to be very, like, my tone of voice, I have to be very, like, active, and I have to be a clown and very loud, and my facial expression has to meet what I'm saying, in order for the child to kind of like, what did she do? Like, oh no, the car fell down. Now what are we going to do? So I try to put a lot of scenarios, and I narrate and I answer the question that I'm doing, in order for them to have that, oh, okay, that's what I can do if I'm in the park and something happens. Or let's say the child is playing and then I come, oh, it looks like you're playing with dinosaurs. Can I play with you? So I narrate and I put a lot of scenarios through play, in order for me to translate that into the school or translate that to the playground. So I feel that the most important component is that, because I hate teaching them robotic skills. I don't know, like, okay, when you come to someone, you say hello. No, no, no. I don't like that approach. I like, okay, let's go together. Oh, hi, so and so. And with me doing it, and I say, did you see? I say hi to the person that was right there. I feel it's more natural, and then they start getting it through repetition. But I don't like very robotic. Okay, when you go this, you do this. When you go to, so I love like that natural aspect, and you acquire that through play.
Wow. Yeah, you've mentioned that a couple times, that play, because you taught me that's their occupation. So you have to work around their occupation. The child's occupation is play. And so these interventions, obviously, they have to be translated. You're doing them in your, I don't know if you do them at the home, the school, but they have to translate into the child at home and at school. So how do these interventions are going to be able to be translated when they get home or they get to school?
Luckily, I go to houses and
Ah,
schools.
wow.
I used to work at clinics, but I have that passion of going to homes. I know some people don't, but I love, because this is where they are and this is their reality. And sometimes I have families that they don't have much space, like they have a small apartment, and that's their living room, that's their room, and I have that opportunity of, okay, how can we maybe put these toys here and make this space a little bit less clutter. So I have that opportunity of connecting a little bit more with the families, and having more let's say, tools that I can give them that they can use. And for me, the most important aspect is educating the parents. When I used to work at the clinics, unfortunately, because of the time, I didn't have that much opportunity for me to communicate with the parents and, okay, let's do this at home, let's do this in the schools. I have a program now with a friend. She's a psychotherapist. It's called Senseful Project, that we go to schools and we educate teachers in
Mm.
terms of, okay, how can you support these kids in the classroom? What type of tools you can give them if they cannot sit during circle time or sit to do, I don't know, math. So it is very important to educate, playing with the kids is the easy part for me. Like that's in me, that's innate on me. The hard part is educate the parents that no, we're not going to play. No, he needs to do math, he needs to write, he needs to, because it's a change of mentality. So that is the hard component. Some parents have the misconception that if we play, we are like babysitting them. They need to work, they need to do this and this and this,
Uh,
so it
yes.
is, it is that component of, okay, let's change mentality here, because yes, we're going to do all the objective that you want, but your expectations, because sometimes parents have high expectations, we need to lower them. And yes, we're going to go where you want them to be, but this is their level. The most important part for me as a therapist is to meet the child on their level, not the parent. I know you want this, but let's be realistic in terms of development, okay? So we need to pair with the child, we need to match their needs, and then we escalate slowly to be successful. Because what happens to me during therapy is that if we ask them too much, especially kids on the spectrum, they explode. It's like, this is too much for me. Let's go slowly. Because parents, and I get it, we want results right away.
Right away.
It's
Yeah.
like a gym. We want to have the abs in 3 sessions, but this doesn't work like this. This needs to be consistency. We need to put work, and we need to unlearn the things that we put in our head that is cognitive and do, no, no, no. Let's do something different. The expectations, let's lower them, and let's work on their kids level, because that is the success part of therapy. If we know where the child is, we know where we're going, and we are going there.
And is the parents, are the parents are they a challenge? Are they beneficial, or are they a hindrance for the progress of the child? Where have you seen the parents and the caregivers in your career and your experience with these kids?
I have had a little bit of everything, but I'm going to be honest with you. Parents that are on denial,
Yeah.
that still component, that might be that the child has autism for 3 years now, but they are still on denial. Those are the hardest parents for me, because they don't see the purpose of therapy. They sometimes, unfortunately, they want to see a cure.
Right.
You're going to cure my child, right? He's going to do this. And sometimes your child is, I don't know, because only God has the last word, but
Yeah.
sometimes that skill might not even come. But yes, we can work to better, and to work also on the strength, and let's just do one day at a time. But sometimes they want to see results fast, and they see that they're not working, and they have high expectations, and they want to have other objectives, and that is the hardest part. That when they are not in the same page as you are, that's why it's so important to educate. Because when you educate the parents and you sit with them and you say, okay, listen, this is where they are, this is their level, and yes, we're going to the other level, and then the other level, but let's take it slowly, and this is what you need to do. Like, as a parent, I need you to do this. You're not the therapist though, you are the parent, so let's do this. And then slowly, we can come up. But yes, some parents are still on denial, and those are the hardest ones.
So we have the platform now, and we have parents and we have grandparents that are listening to us. What advice would you give a parent out there that is struggling with a young child, with or without a diagnosis, or with or without treatment, or a grandparent that's listening to us? What type of advice, a professional like you that has so much experience, what do you tell those parents?
I think, like, the most important advice for me, because I get a lot of parents that have guilt, is to take away a little bit of that guilt that you might be feeling of, I caused the autism. The child, even if they don't have a diagnosis, I see that they're different than my neighbor. What did I do wrong as a parent? Okay, so I feel that my advice will be, take out that guilt. Always seek professional advice or evaluations, because I have had parents that don't seek help and they are stuck, and they shouldn't be stuck. Parenting shouldn't be that rough. And if parenting is rough for you, you always can count in someone that can help you. Name it: psychologists, OTs, neurologists. Like, there are people out there that can help you navigate through all these situations. And that at the end of the day, and I know some parents don't see it this way and it's hard, but I see autism, and this is me, as a kid that is a pearl inside a shell. Sometimes that shell is closed, but when you open it slowly, you see that beautiful shiny pearl in there that is ready to go out of that shell and eat the world. But sometimes we don't see it that way. And
Mm.
I tell parents that even though you see dark right now in the tunnel, you don't see any light, trust me, you are going to see that little light sooner than when you think, because that little pearl came to your life to do amazing things and in this world, because God never makes a mistake.
Yeah. And no,
And
and
I
I can tell you as a parent of kids with special needs, you're exactly right, because we didn't see the hope when they were little, and would they even talk? Would they even walk? And
Mhm.
now it's like, can you guys please be quiet? I mean, it's just so much talking in the house, and so yeah, yeah, definitely, no doubt about it. So they must bring you a lot of rewards. So tell me, what are some of the biggest rewards for you? What gives you the biggest joy in your day to day and in your profession?
I those hugs. I love when the kids hug me. I love when the kids smile. I love when the kids make that little eye contact, even if like for milliseconds, and they looked at me and then they smile or they do something. Like, for me, even though I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it's really hard. I lose my patience a lot. But it is very rewarding in terms of, you know what, I go to sleep thinking that I did the best I could, and that these kids can be my kids. When I have like a tough situation, because I have had a lot of tough situations, I always close my eyes, breathe. I ask God for patience and knowledge in that moment. And I say, this kid can be my kid. And I want my kid to be treated well and right and loved in a lovely manner. So that's what I do. And sometimes the kid in that day cannot receive therapy but can receive my love.
Mm,
So that's what I love the most. Like, if I can do his day or her day a little bit better, and they do my day also better, I can go to sleep good.
wow. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for what you do with those kids. Now, as an occupational therapist, you maybe somebody's thinking about that career, and so you know, what do you tell a young student out there, maybe a high school or a college student who's thinking about this career? I've heard and we've heard about all the great stuff. Are there any misconceptions about this career of occupational therapy that is out there that maybe you want to clear, or any advice you want to give a youngster who's maybe considering this path to help people with these needs?
We need a lot of therapists. I feel that, oh, we have a lot of OTs, we have a lot of speech. No, we need a lot of therapists. And my advice will be that we cannot. We lost him again.
I'm here.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
okay,
yeah, yeah,
okay.
okay.
That we cannot follow sometimes the book, the theory itself. I feel that we have to follow also your inner feelings, and whatever you think is the most beneficial for the child, do it. And even if that means that you have to say to the family no, because you have to advocate for the child. Go for OT. I love OT. We need a lot of OTs in this world, and we have a lot of. You can go to geriatrics, pediatrics, adults, rehab, ICU. There are so many things that you can do, but always think in the patient. What is the patient feeling, even if you have an adult that is not in the same page as you are?
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for what you do in your career with the kids. Obviously, as a father, I tell you that. Thank you, and thank you for spending some time with us, educating us. Thank you for your energy, and obviously to all our viewers out there. Remember, don't be in denial. Get the professional help that you need for your child, for your grandchild. Professionals like occupational therapists like Fabi, speech therapists, neurologists, pediatricians, and bring awareness to your community about autism and about the benefits of occupational therapy, what it could do for your children and your family. So Fabi, on behalf of myself, Dr. Anthony Gonzalez, and Miami Community Health, thank you for joining us. Thank you for what you do. And my pleasure. Once again, Dr. Anthony Gonzalez with Miami Community Health, reminding you to take care of yourself and your family. Be well and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank